Hey everybody, how are we doing today? It is November 15th, and yesterday on the 14th, the WASDE reports came out from the Department of Agriculture. A lot of things in there. Um, let's just say that when you look at the data, you see a lot of numbers that have been fabricated. You can call it whatever you want, manipulate it, adjust it, massaged. They're just not accurate. Now, some people would argue that there's always lots of problems with the reports, and I'm not gonna argue with that, okay? Because there's always questionable numbers, but you can see areas where they just rolled numbers over and made adjustments instead of making adjustments to the potential yield per acre. They just decided to, adjust a starting number or an ending number. So we know that the information is a little less than accurate. But what I wanted to speak about is soybeans in China. So it appears that in the last 15 days since China agreed to purchase like 12 million metric tons of soybeans from the United States, they've purchased about 12 million bushels. Then there's about another 12 million bushels that are going to unknown destinations. If we assume that all of that is actually going to China, 24, slightly more than 24 million bushels, that would put China in the first 15 days, which is about 25% of the agreement time, at 5%. Yeah, that's right. They would have only purchased about 5% of the agreed upon amount of bushels by the end of this year. Let's be honest, they're not going to buy. And their agreements for the next year's 25 million bushels, it's going to be hard for us to get them to ever do that because they've kind of switched over to Brazil and other countries. So soybean farmers and politicians, need to start working on what's going to happen to the soybean crops. What are we going to do with soybeans? Are we going to keep planting more soybeans than we are going to need because we're not going to be selling them to China? Or are we going to crush them and put them into soybean oil or biofuels? What are we going to do? We need a serious conversation because the American farmer deserves to be being told the truth. That's something I think across the board, whether you're a farmer or whether you're not a farmer, doesn't matter who we are. We need administrations that are willing to stand up and be honest to the American consumer so we can know what we're doing. And if they're going to put tariffs, and yeah, he announced last night that he's going to pull tariffs off of beef and coffee and a few other food items because he's realizing that what we all told him at the start, if you do this, it's going to increase prices. Well, it's increased prices. And he realized that with the previous week turnouts for the election, Democrats are going to take more seats. And if he doesn't change and do something now, next year's November election will go very poorly for Republicans. The Democrats will take over, and the Democrats will not allow him to continue to do all the things he is doing that are questionable as to whether or not they are legal or not. So if he wants to continue to do his things, he's got to try and lower those prices on the American consumer, or the American consumer will vote the Republicans out in November. Just like they voted out Biden and the Democrats because prices were too high. Now, we all know tariffs are causing price increases. We all know tariffs are causing companies to have less profit. There's lots of things we need to do. But again, the WASDE report shows that there's changes that need to be made to farming in the United States because we're not going to be selling nearly the amount of soybeans or any other products to China as we did in the past. Not that that's a bad thing. Honestly, it's probably a pretty good thing. We need to be more dependent upon ourselves. But for the big row crop farmers that are very, very dependent upon China, that means they're going to have to make changes. Consumer-driven changes, ones that affect the American consumer, not the Chinese consumer. He also mentioned investigations into the big four meatpacking companies that control 85% of the beef industry. I think around 70 or 65% of the pork and the chicken industry as well. You know, I'm not sure what needs to be investigated. They've settled claims about price fixing. And in case you don't understand, price fixing is where they all get together and they conspire to raise the prices on you. Yes, on you. So you've been paying more for beef because these companies want to make more profit. And they've, in return for the farmer, lowered the prices they pay to the farmer. So everybody's getting squeezed except them. And he wants to go ahead and investigate them. Well, he opened up an investigation in his first administration to them. Joe Biden investigated them in his administration, and nobody does anything. And they're settling lawsuits, and they're paying millions of dollars because of the price fixing they had. What more do we need to know? You as a consumer should be perturbed. You know what I wanted to say, but that you should be perturbed that your congressional representatives are allowing this to happen to you. So, what you need to do, you need to contact your congressperson. You need to contact your senators, and you need to say, hey, what's there to investigate? We've got the laws on the books. They control 85% of the market. Break them up. Break them up now and start spending the time and the money to go to local processing plants. Let's make some adjustments to the local processing and the processing laws. There's nothing wrong with that. But the big key we have to do is we have to understand that the reason why you're paying more and the reason why they're willing to settle, and don't give me this bull about, well, they didn't admit that they had done anything wrong. They just settled for $85 million. No company's going to pay out $85 million because they didn't do anything wrong. That's not going to happen. So, we know the truth. You just got to accept it. And if you accept it, then what you do about it is you contact your congressperson and you say, hey, stop this. Break them up. Be done with it. We consolidated way too much, and we need to start breaking up monopolies. Not just the beef monopolies, but the meat industry, the fertilizing industry, the crop and soybean industry. We need to start looking at these companies and saying, you're not working for the betterment of the farmer. You're not working for the betterment of the consumer. You're working to make a profit. Fine, that's your job to make a profit for your business. But for the rest of us who are getting cheated because you're conspiring with other companies to set prices, means you can't be trusted. Break you up. Seriously. There should be no other question. There's no need for an investigation. They've admitted by agreeing to it, whether they say they did or not, that they have fixed pricing, and that has hurt the American consumer. And if Congress and the President and the Senate are not willing to defend the American consumer, they do not deserve to be in office. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They don't deserve to be in office. And it doesn't matter what party they belong to. All right. Hopefully, it's mid-November. It's going to be a really nice sunny day out, at least here in the Midwest. Mid-70s. Tomorrow still, I think, going to be in the low 60s on Sunday. Get out, enjoy some time, enjoy the leaves that are still on the trees, have fun, and pay attention to what's going on, and realize that if people are lying to you about one thing, they're going to lie to you about more. Get them out. All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.